so stupid.
Just blow hard, Isaac.
Jackson crushes it.
Yeah. Just it's
surprises.
Harmonica's all
I
confidence.
could not even believe that Jackson plays the harmonica.
He doesn't.
He doesn't. But he plays one tune well. Hello, guys.
It's not a tune. It's 2 notes.
Okay.
Try again.
That's the same thing, just an octave higher.
Yep.
It's not the same. Hey,
That's pretty good.
That's not
We can go with that.
Yeah, I'll live with that.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I couldn't play the harmonica. That's great.
Hey guys, I'm Isaac Broderick,
I'm Noah Jeremetta.
And I'm Taylor Glockner.
and today we're gonna have a conversation with Taylor.
What is this? The morning show? Today show?
Hi, grade 6.
Yeah.
There was an incident in the bathrooms. Boys up the back, listen.
Oh god. Okay.
We arrived here at 8:30. It's now 12:20, and we spent 3 hours and 50 minutes talking about, let's call it, Calligram strategy.
Sure.
Sorry, Jack. I know you're going to be hearing this. But here we are, and we still have 4 hours, so we're okay. We got plenty to talk about.
We didn't really have too much of a plan for what we're going to talk about, but since Taylor's here,
I think we may as well just put the mic down because we have so many long conversations about things anyway. So we may as well just
riff on random.
We should have recorded all of them.
Yeah, we actually should have.
But there's stuff in those conversations that are private that, about projects that we're working on, stuff like that maybe we don't want getting out. But, I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm here with 2 writer-directors. Isaac, I've not been in anything of yours yet, have I?
No, not yet.
But Noah, I've been in something of yours, and I like both of your work a lot. And I hope that we can all continue to work together. So please give me a roll, Isaac.
Whoa, Taylor.
So
easy, buddy.
I don't really know where this is going to start or where this is going to finish. I didn't really know that we want to go through like a history of acting from Taylor Glockner and just like you go through your whole fucking resume. But I do want to ask the most obvious question, which I'm pretty sure I've asked you this already. So why acting? When did you make the decision you wanted to be an actor, and why did you want to do it? Or did you just fall into it?
I think a little bit of both. I fell into a little bit, but I always, growing up as a teenager, loved films, movies, and TV. I think, Noah, I'm looking at you. There is a difference between a film and a movie, isn't there?
Yeah, well, I mean, no.
So we're already going to go right from this question. I'm making...
Noah, talk about this on record.
So here we are. I'm making an opening statement.
Noah's sipping tea while he talks about this, by the way.
We're all drinking... Oh, no, Taylor's drinking coffee.
I'm making an opening statement to an opening statement, and we're already going down...
We've already got a disagreement.
An alleyway. So I believe...
What's the difference to you between a movie and a film?
Okay. I think that a film is... it's tough to put into words. I think a film creatively is a little bit more serious than perhaps like a movie, just a big Hollywood movie that maybe doesn't take itself as seriously. So like something like There Will Be Blood, I don't think anyone would argue that that's a film, right?
Or that's a movie.
No, I think that's a film.
Taylor's saying there's a difference between movies and films.
Okay, so you're saying that is a film.
I think undoubtedly that is a film.
Yeah.
Or something like... Okay.
From where I roughly think your distinction is. I think, are you saying like Godzilla vs. Kong is a movie? And There Will Be Blood is a film? Because I can... I can understand that.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yes, that there is definitely a distinction between a film and a movie.
Yeah.
And that's okay to have that distinction as long as you know which one you're doing when you set out to do it.
Yeah.
But if you maybe don't know, then you should have a think about which one that is that you're doing.
Yeah.
As long as you know what it is that you're doing, you've already gone a long way to having a lot of respect, I think.
Yeah.
I think there's like an idea that like, serious movies are called films. And then movies that are less serious, or movies that don't attempt to tackle something in a serious way, like movies that are more concerned with being maybe escapism and more fun, that those are called like movies.
Are you thinking about,
sure.
Oh yeah, Noah,
But-
I'd love to ask you this: is Evil Dead a film or a movie?
Well, the question is like, okay, what you're actually asking me is Evil Dead a serious work of art, or is it there to be fun?
Yeah.
Okay, so I use the words movie and film interchangeably, and I don't believe there's a difference.
Yeah.
I just think film is like a word that people use to be like, colloquially, to give you a more understanding of like, this is a film. Like, you're in for a real experience. And then people say it's a movie. It's just like, oh, it's just sort of a movie. But I just continue to use them interchangeably because, I don't know. I think that there's like an idea. It's like, serious films. So movies that tackle things in a serious way, like that they're like different to like, or that movies can't be serious and that films have to be serious and can't be fun. And like, to me, it's just like two words and they're both sort of a little bit meaningless and I don't really give a shit which one I use. That's how I feel about it.
Well, I think that's a shortcoming of yours.
Yeah.
Because I do selectively use film or movie, and I think you should give that some serious thought.
I've got an interesting point on this one, and it's just a question.
People aren't going to know that it's sarcasm.
Yeah.
I hope you can pick up this sarcasm.
No, it's just great. I know.
Then I'm only joking.
This is going to be great. Okay, ask a question, Isaac.
Well, so if it's so stupid. If a drama film.
Wait, a drama film or a drama movie? I'm sorry. I'm fucking with you.
Sake, this is so bad.
Do you mean
I'm trying to pull this apart.
The thing with audio that also has visual attached to it that we call either video or film or movie. Yeah, if that's you mean drama by genre? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, if a drama,
I'm just being an asshole
is
at
very,
this
I
point.
know. If a drama is a bad drama,
then it's a movie, not a film.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying.
And then if there's if there's a very good, and then we have God, I can't even continue with this.
I just think that it's
Monty Python's The Meaning of Life has movie tendencies and film execution.
I just feel like all the frothing about we make films, not movies, is just pretentious bullshit, and I just don't like it. That's my feeling on it. It's just like you recorded some audio with a thing and you call it what you like. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Even if there's not a definitive answer, it still makes for a pretty interesting conversation.
Sure.
Yeah.
It gets into people being like, how seriously do we take movies and things like this?
I do think that
Scorsese kind of started that again recently with that whole
they're not real cinema. What did he say about they're not real cinema?
He said it's theme park film.
Yeah, which is like how is anybody upset about this?
Here
really?
Let's no. First of all, do any of us want to work with Marvel or Disney at any point?
I love Scorsese, and I think he's. What the fuck? Who are these Marvel fanboys that are mad that Martin Scorsese doesn't like their fucking superhero movie? It's Scorsese, for God's sake. And I'm sure he likes some superhero movies. I'm sure. He just doesn't like that, like, Marvel has become sort of like factory output a little bit. And I think Denis Villeneuve said a similar thing recently. It's like all those great memes of people being like, Dune getting downvoted by Marvel fanboys because he talks shit. But like, those movies are there to serve a purpose. If I was 14 again, I would be so into this Marvel thing and the DC thing and the whole bit. And like, they're not worse, or they're not films and not movies and not films because they're superhero movies. There's totally valid, great superhero movies that I love very much. I just think Scorsese's just like pointing out the fact that they're not really trying to do anything. They're not trying to challenge viewers. Yeah. They're just sort of there to be escapist fun. And I actually don't think there's anything wrong with escapist movies. I think it's fine. Make your escapist movies. Maybe the price you pay for making an escapist film is that you don't really tackle anything seriously in-depth in your work. But that's... Other people want to do that. It's fine. Do what you want to do, man. You're mad that the man who made Silence and Taxi Driver and like, have you seen this man?
Doesn't like Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Exactly. Yeah. You're surprised that he didn't like bloody Doctor Strange or whatever. Like, you're mad about this?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Look at his taste. Yeah. Akira Kurosawa doesn't like Endgame?
Oh, what? Amazing. Yeah.
Crazy.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, he's not busting to hop on to direct the next one. Insane.
I saw a meme recently of like Alfred. It's just like a fake article or whatever, but it was like Alfred Hitchcock has said he will never direct a Marvel movie. We reached out to Alfred Hitchcock for a comment, but he's dead. Or some shit like that.
We're still waiting. We haven't heard anything yet.
We haven't heard back yet. It's just like, that's exactly the response. It's like, what? Yeah. The man who made 3-hour-long Irishman, who'd rather you not watch a movie on your phone, isn't a fan of your superhero movie.
Yeah.
Who
Big
cares,
shocker,
bro?
yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
It's preference.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in LA, this would have been late 2019, right before sort of COVID, because I was in Sydney at the time, kind of auditioning in like early February, and so it would have been like November 2019. I was in LA, right before I came back, and was it December or early January we shot The Ending of Bloom.
I think it was January.
Oh yeah, it was early
Yes,
January,
yeah, it was.
right?
Yeah.
And then you asked me, because I initially just like with my schedule, I had to be overseas, and I was like, I can't do it. Like I want to do it. If I was there, I'd do it. So I kind of wasn't able to be there. And then you were like, look, we'll move the dates around. Can you come and do the 2 days? And I was like, yes, I can actually, because I'm going to have that time free. But anyway, speaking of The Irishman, 3 hour long.
Yeah.
I enjoyed The Irishman. I really did. Long 3 hour film. Okay. Who's complaining? Who's complaining? You want Scorsese, De Niro, Pacino, Pesci. Problem with that, in the Airbnb that I was staying in, I had from some friends, from Danny and Jill, they gave me a screener of The Irishman, the DVD.
Yeah.
And the Airbnb I was staying at, I put it in the DVD player, but the DVD player did not have a remote, so I couldn't pause it. So I started watching, and I got like, and it was great. I got like 90 minutes, 2 hours in, and I'm watching it. Fantastic. Something came through on my phone. Oh, I've got to go out. I think I had to go catch up with Harley. So I paused. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, fantastic. Like I'll just get home. I'll press the pause button on the DVD player, and then I'll watch the last hour of The Irishman. And I get home. I'm like, oh no, the DVD player's turned itself off. I go, all right, no problem. I'll just turn the DVD player back on, and I'll hit play, and then we'll go from still with an hour left. Mm-hmm. Boom.
No way to skip the movie.
What I directed by Martin Scorsese. I'm back at the start, I'm thinking, oh shit, what am I gonna do? So I think I like went for a jog or something because I couldn't fast forward.
Were you checking the time on your phone to make sure you're?
Yeah, because I knew what time I went for a jog. Went back, had a shower, made a cup of coffee. No, I did really enjoy The Irishman.
I love that movie. I thought it was great.
Parts of it I really, really like. Harvey Keitel's bloody good in it too. I'll watch anything mafia made by Scorsese. Like,
it's right up your alley.
Yeah, I love it. Just because I'm Italian, you think that's right up my alley? Is that what you're saying?
Okay, look, man.
You're Italian too.
I was going to say
that's
Guido.
up our
I can't
alley.
say it on the podcast.
That's up our
alley. No one
can
say that, but I can't.
No, I don't think I can. I'll still get cancelled.
We'll just say Noah's surname is Jeremetta. That's all.
My surname doesn't show that I'm Italian, but I am actually 50% Italian.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of movies and films, where did we land there? Did we land? Can we land?
What do you mean, where did we land?
Yeah, most people make movies, but gosh darn it, golly gosh damn, we make films.
We make films over here, guys.
Well, you want to try, you want to try to make films, I think. Yeah. Look, I think film is when you're going to try to make something that's going to be acclaimed critically, creatively, and then a movie, there might be a little bit more of an inclination to make something like a blockbuster that's going to make a lot of money, become a franchise. As I'm looking at this Toy Story mug right here, sell a lot of, merchandise and stuff like that.
I'll argue that Toy Story 2 is better than a lot of films, even if it is
Toy
a
Story
movie
2 is
by some people's standards.
Good.
But here's the thing.
Maybe I need to see it again because
damn good.
I think there's an inclination.
Number 4 is...
I've definitely seen
number 4 was intense. No, number 3 was intense too.
Dude, all 4, I rate them.
Who's made a better 1, 2, 3, 4 than Toy Story?
There's not many.
Arguably.
There's here's the thing. The competition is fairly slim already because not many people have made 4 series.
So now we're going into the movie and film thing. Right.
Yeah.
So we've gone into the movie and film
I don't
thing.
know if we're unironic or ironic. Can I say I actually fell off the boat? We're actually distinguishing.
We don't know what conversation.
Yeah, because I know we were joking about it earlier. Films, we're doing the film and film, movie.
You guys can say whatever you like. I completely disagree that there's a difference.
I'm going to take this to the next level now.
Okay.
So with the film, movie thing, hopefully it's good food for thought. Anyone who would like to listen, and it's a very interesting conversation. Now, let's talk sequels. There are since we were talking Isaac 1, 2, 3, 4 of the Toy Story. sequels. There are only I'm talking 5 or 6 or 7 better sequels than original films.
Yeah.
It is really hard
that
to
we
make
know
a sequel.
of as well is important to
You
say.
think? Sure, yeah. Let alone a third film, a threequel, let alone a fourth film.
Yeah.
It's hard. It is hard. So what do you got in terms of sequels that are as good or perhaps arguably better than the original?
There's a lot of the big ones are like The Dark Knight.
The Dark
the
Knight.
Obvious one. Godfather Part 2. There's a debate to be had there.
Yeah.
Sure.
You guys want to say Toy Story 2?
Toy Story 2.
I think it has
Toy
to
Story's
also...
better than the first
It's
one.
so good, man.
Within reason, it has to come from a strong original. It's not like if some IP just gets jettisoned off into orbit
that's
for
a
10
question.
years and then...
Paddington 2. Chuck that on there.
Really?
Oh my
Haven't
gosh.
seen it.
I haven't seen it either.
You have no idea.
You know, if someone
I was-
makes a shoddy first film
Yeah.
and then the IP just gets forgotten about and then someone else picks it up 10 years later and they make a marginally better second film. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about from a strong original. So
Yeah.
is that what Paddington 2 is?
Paddington 2 is... Paddington 1 is a good family film. And then Paddington 2... there were a lot of memes and jokes about it because it had a little stretch early this year, late last year, where it had the highest Rotten Tomatoes score, higher than Citizen Kane.
Wow.
For a little bit. I don't think it is. I don't think it is better than Citizen
Okay,
Kane.
I've not seen it. To be fair, I've not seen it.
But it is much better than a lot of people think a movie about a little bear with a big red hat has any right to be. And it's really well made. I really like it.
So Noah's
I just cheated on Google.
cheated.
So Terminator 2 better than the first
I
one?
was going to say Terminator 2.
There's an argument there.
I would say
Aliens,
personally.
Aliens, and,
Aliens is
Aliens-
just... The argument with Aliens is...
Can I just say,
stupid.
I believe that Terminator 2 builds upon what is established in Terminator 1 really nicely. Also, as we were talking about, Isaac, Rocky 2 builds upon Rocky 1, and Rocky 3 builds upon 2 and 1. I know it sounds simple and obvious, but it's done really, really well.
Yeah.
I think Rocky 3 is probably a rare third film that's pretty quality as well.
Yeah. Rocky, it's it has a right to be there, for sure.
This is my argument with people who say that Godfather 2 is better than 1. It's
Wouldn't
be if it weren't for the first one.
Yeah.
I can't think of a circumstance where I want to put number 2 on and not put
Hang
one
on a
first,
minute, Noah,
if
let
that
me...
makes sense.
Would The Godfather 1 be if not for The Godfather 2?
Probably.
Yes.
If it didn't have
No,
the
I'm
second
just
one, right?
joking about
Oh, right, shit.
I'm just joking about the non-linearity of The Godfather 2.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. Spider-Man 2.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
With the De Niro's
With Vito
part.
back in the old days.
We got Raimi's Spider-Boy 2.
Yeah, that's better than the first one.
Spider-Man 2 is a great
Yeah, everybody seems to think it is.
movie.
And I'm sort of in the boat
I
that
think it
they're
is
sort of
better.
on par. But I love the first one and the second one. I just think that I think that people look at the second one, go, that's the better one, and then sort of dismiss the first one. But it's
Sure.
sort of my opinion that I think they're both really, really solid.
A little bit with Batman Begins there as well, Noah, because I remember that as we were driving in today, you were saying people forget about Batman Begins.
It's really good. I think Batman Begins is really good.
Oh, man.
And I think people forget that it's as good as it is because everybody just thinks about The Dark Knight. It's like, no, that Scarecrow shit is awesome, and that performance is great.
By Killian.
Can I
good.
take it back to the square one question, which is Taylor, why acting? How did you know?
Oh yeah, we did start this podcast.
You know,
with
we've
shit.
gone way
sorry,
off.
Taylor.
Go.
Man, if we were a plane, we would be not going to the
We were
destination.
Indian Ocean right now.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so
That's an insane tangent.
we are not going to where we're meant to be going.
Yeah, Taylor, why did you start acting?
So no, we'll come back because we'll get into some really interesting shit. But speaking of Batman Begins, so Batman Begins came out in 2005. I remember distinctly because I was 14 at the time, born in 91, and I went to school in Brisbane. So we went down to Melbourne for a music kind of week where we just kind of played music with another music school. I used to play clarinet and then bass clarinet. So we were playing music all through the day. We were there for the week, and then we had a performance at the end of the week. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights, the teachers, there was maybe 30 students, right? There's 30 kids, and there was 3 teachers, and you could go to a museum, I don't even remember, maybe go to a amusement park or something, and then you could go to the cinema and see a movie. And the teachers would take the kids, whatever, there was pretty much always like 10, 10, 10.
That's so cool. They give you an option. That's crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
So every other kid on the Tuesday night, like, what do you want to do? Like, what are you going to pick? Just let us know what you want to do. And it did split up evenly of the 30 of us, 10, 10, 10. Tuesday night, museum, okay, interesting. Amusement park, I'm not really an amusement park kind of guy. I'm going to see a movie. I don't even care what movie it is. I just want to go and see a movie. So there you go. No, I'm already as a 14-year-old leaning toward like just I'll watch anything on screen I can, you know. So we go to the movies, right? Mm-hmm. It's Batman Begins. I don't know too much. I didn't really watch maybe I was a bit too young, the Tim Burton Batmans and the earlier Batmans. So this is like probably my first serious experience with Batman.
Sure.
Right? Mm. Batman Begins opening, and I'm still old enough at this point to appreciate a really good drama. Like, I'm not, 14 and I'm just thinking, I just want to see, like, stuff explode.
Sure.
I also have loved, like, I'd watched, like, The Green Mile, like, Shawshank Redemption, like, think of the best dramas you can think of. I had watched them and appreciated them as best you can with what you know about the world when you're 14, right? So I'm in there, Batman Begins, boom, Batman Begins opens, immediately you're drawn in. I was just like, oh my God, the characterization in that film is incredible. Like, I just get fully taken into it, right? Watch the film, enjoy it. See, I said film, because I do believe that it's probably leaning more towards a film than a movie. Batman Begins, right? By the way.
That
let's park
nothing
that.
To me, but
let's park that. Finish it up. Wow. I remember calling my mum called me maybe. She was like, hi, Taylor, just checking up on me. I'm a young kid in another city. What did you do tonight? Oh, we went to see Batman, and I said, Mum, you're not going to believe the characterization in this film. And she's like, what do you mean? Like, was it good or what? And I was like, so already I was like, I guess talking a little bit about, like, seeing things that maybe just the average, like, film kid might not think about that deeply.
Yeah, I 14-year-old saying, look at the characterization.
Yeah. It really is great characterization in Batman Begins.
It does it in not much time too.
Does it?
Yeah. I think it
does like 40 minutes. You cover a lot of ground.
Because it's that struggle of a first movie. You need to get the freaking ball rolling.
Yeah, it does it really well. Then so that was Tuesday night. Wednesday night. What do you want to do tonight, kids? Do you want to go to the museum or do you want to go to the amusement park? I want to go to Batman Begins to see it again. I want to just see it again because, as you know, the first time you watch it, it's like a sensory experience. You're taking it all in. The second time you watch a film, now that you know the ending, you can see more at the beginning. That's my belief anyway. And now you can see like more of what Christopher Nolan and the other creators on that film were trying to put into the beginning. But maybe you miss those things because you don't know the unlocking of the key in the latch of the ending yet. But now that you know that, you can see the lock kind of happening at the beginning of the film. Go there, enjoy it. Mum calls me again. Went to see Batman. And she's like, "Are you serious, Sally? You want to see it again?" I was like, "Yeah. Just had to. It's incredible. No joke. This is like no bullshit. Thursday night. What do you want to do?"
You didn't.
No, I'm dead serious.
You're in another city as well.
I'm dead serious. The teachers were looking at each other like, "Is this kid for real?" And I was like, "No." They're like, "Taylor, come on. You don't want to go to the museum or you don't want to amusement park?" I was like, "Nah, I'm going to see Batman. Let's go right now. Take me." And there were a few other kids, but the amount of kids was dwindling. Yeah. 3 out of 3 nights
was a slog.
3 out of 3 nights I saw Batman Begins as a 14-year-old kid in a foreign city on a music camp. So to answer your question, Noah, I think, thinking back on kind of the history of me as a teenager or my archives, and you look back and if you see that in the kind of in the paperwork of what you're thinking about as a teenager, that's kind of probably some indication that you might lean the way of being creative into films, movies, acting, whatever it ends up being, directing, writing, producing. So there's a little hint there, a little breadcrumb that I was probably already thinking that way. As opposed to something else. If it had have been something else, then it would have been. But it wasn't.
I might be assuming something here by asking this question, but it sounds like you had an interest in film at 14 years of age. But did you have an interest in acting then?
Good question. Yes.
Okay. Before you saw Batman, you were like, I want to be an actor.
I mean, look, I don't only want to be an actor. Like, I want to. I have produced. I am producing. I will produce things in the future.
Did you want to do that back then, though? Produce and act.
I think so. I think so. I think I knew that this is the direction that I want to head in. I just need to begin putting one foot in front of the other and try and get there by kind of strategizing my way to get there.
Do you remember when you knew that like producing and acting was the role in filmmaking that you wanted to do?
I just knew that I wanted to, and this didn't become clear for years, because the other thing is when you're 14, and I didn't start going to acting class. Actually, that's not true. I did drama in high school as well, and we did stage plays. And thinking back, actually, see, this is the other thing, thinking back about my history and my archives, I think maybe year 7, so let's go back to me being 12. Me and some friends, for some reason, I don't remember why we did it, they were doing like a talent thing on the lunch hour. Everyone was encouraged to, if you wanted to enter. I think we were trying to make money. So you had to get $50 from your parents, and everyone entered in their $50. And there was maybe like 6 or 7 different kinds of talent acts, whether it was like a solo. I remember one kid went up there and did this really great miming act, and a few other things, like a kid tried to do like a stand-up comedy, or a kid would go up there and like play an instrument. And me and my 3 other mates wrote a stage play. I'm not going to tell you what that stage play was because it was so silly. Yeah. But anyway, it made the kids laugh. So I'm 12 years old now. Yeah. So when we put the $50 in, maybe the pot was like $300 or something like that, right? And I go home that night, and so at that point in time, whatever was it called, like a talent quest or something like that, like a talent thing.
That sounds right.
Was about 4 weeks in the future. Now, when you're 12, 4 weeks in the future is like an eternity. Like it's all good. Like I'm never gonna have to do that. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Even 1 week.
You remember how long some of those weeks felt?
Unreal.
And I go home that night and I'm like to my mum and my dad, like, yeah, I'm going to the talent contest. Maybe it was a talent contest, and we're gonna win and all that. Wake up the next morning, getting that rush of like, oh my God, like I've got to go up there in front of other people. Like, what if I'm bad? Do you know what I mean? Like, what if it's bad? So I go to the principal's office and I'm like, yo, look, I know I put the $50 in, but I actually wasn't even speaking with the principal. I was speaking with his secretary, really nice lady. And I said, I know I put that $50 in. Can I get the $50 back? I want to pull out. I don't want to do this because I was afraid of being bad.
Sure.
Right? I'm 12 years old. And she's like, Taylor, you've submitted the $50. I can't give it back to you now. It's in the pool. And I was like, all right. Well, look, just keep the $50, but I'm not going to do it because I'm too scared of being bad. And she's like, Taylor, she pushed me. And in a good way, good on her for pushing me. She was like, Taylor, you've submitted it. You're doing it. I expect to see you write a stage play and have it ready to go in 4 weeks' time. And I was like, oh, shit. Do you know what I mean? But so I had to step up.
Yeah.
So I couldn't run. And so I went and got my other mates, and one of the teachers let us have a classroom during the lunch breaks. So for like 3 weeks leading up, we wrote this little, I think it would have only been like, honestly, like 7-minute long kind of little stage play. And we go into it's only like the first round of the talent contest, right?
Oh, right.
And we go there and we win it. There was a lot of kids in there, maybe, I don't know, like 20 kids or something in the room. Then the teacher announces like, okay, you're all the finalists now. Next week, you're gonna do it, and we're gonna see who the actual winner is. And then we get back into the classroom where like, me and my mates were talking like, holy shit, like, first of all, how the hell did we win on something that we wrote, figured out how to perform ourselves.
At this point, you'd never written
nothing.
A film or like
nothing.
This
maybe
is the very first one.
Maybe I just written little stories to myself in books. It was probably trash. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I'm just talking about the experience of, like you said, like why acting.
Yeah.
So thinking back now, here's the answers, right?
Yeah.
And we're like, holy shit! Like, first of all, how do we win that? Secondly, we can't do the same thing again next week because all the kids that were there, the laughs aren't going to go the second week, so we can't do the same thing. So speaking of sequels, in 2 weeks, we wrote a sequel.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm dead serious.
So you had 4 weeks the first time, and I have 2 weeks to write
Yes, and I need to make a confession here. And this is I've kept this bottled up for
live on Calligram.
Yeah,
for 18 years. When I was 12, now I'm 30. I went home and I said to my dad's not in the creative industry. He's a really good sports guy, soccer coach. And but he still loves films, movies, science fiction. That's probably where I got a lot of my interest from. Where my brother found Dad's soccer equipment and started kicking the ball around the backyard. I found Dad's bookshelf, Stephen King books, DVD, not DVD, VHS at the time and all that. So that I just happened to go that way. But I said to Dad, we got to write this sequel, and I have no idea what the fuck I'm gonna write. I've got mad writer's block right now. What are we gonna do? So full confession, I hope that the primary school I went to is not listening and they're not gonna strip me of that. Do you know what I mean? My dad wrote the sequel. I didn't write the sequel, so my dad ghost wrote the sequel for me.
Sellout.
I wrote the original. But my dad wrote the sequel, right? So then we went back, learned it, performed it, and we won. So there you go. I won a talent contest somehow, and what was the other thing? Saw Batman Begins 3 nights in a row, like a weirdo. So when you're looking back, you're seeing the signs that whether I'm going to be good in this industry or not, I'm certainly, that's the direction I want to head in.
Cool.
Naturally.
Nice. So the next thing is, at a certain point, you had to start wanting to... You had a successful career in television, being an actor, very much so.
Oh, thanks.
So at what point were you okay, acting is a thing that I'm going to do and I'm going to study it? Or you did study it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
When did that start?
Can I just say also, we did make a theatre play also in high school that bombed.
Oh,
so
shit.
I've had ones
Nice.
that have been successful, and I've also had stuff that's bombed. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it's a bit of a cult hit. It became a bit of a cult hit.
Did you write that in high school?
No, that was performed written by another friend of mine named Felix. But
you acted in it.
I acted in it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I was terrible. If I knew then what I know now of how to play that role, I would have smoked it. But I just,
where would you be in your career?
You've got to start. Yeah. It could have been so different. But you only know what you know at the time. And the other thing is, I'm only 30 now, and for an athlete, when you're really young and you're like, oh my god, this guy's promising, this guy could have a future. As an athlete, you're 16 or 17 or 18, But for a creative, 30, you're still in the youth team.
Yeah. Seriously.
So I think life experience is a huge factor. What do you know when you're so I did that one when I was about 16. Mm-hmm. What do you know at 16 about the challenges and the trials and tribulations of life, really, and that you can apply into your work? You may have had a tough, hard life. Sorry about that, so you may be able to apply it. But generally, you're not thinking at the age of 16 like you're thinking at 30, and you're not thinking at 30 like you're thinking at 44, Sure. So as you go on, if you have the skills of how to kind of be a creative, as you get more life experience, more highs and more lows, I think your work gets better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Absolutely.
Then it was 17, and my mum just could see that I was just had a natural inclination, towards being creative. And so she, I think, enrolled me in an acting class. And so I started taking acting classes. I'd done drama in high school, and then...
Was this extracurricular while school was going on?
Just in a class with, a bunch of, whatever it is, 30 kids.
Cool.
And then when I was 17, afterwards...
Oh, yeah, okay, this one, yeah.
Then I started going in another acting class, and then you'd learn the scene. And I think I did part-time acting classes for a year, 2 years. But at that stage, when I was 17, 18, all I was really thinking about was just going out, getting drunk.
Sure.
That's what you're meant to be thinking about at that age.
Yeah. Fair enough.
And I remember you'd be at the pub, and then you'd be like, hey, can you just stop talking to me for a second? And then I'd just go stand in the corner and just say all my lines to myself, just bobbing my head, and people were probably looking at me what the fuck is going on with this guy? This guy's drunk for sure.
Yeah.
And I just then go, oh, okay, yeah, I've got the 3 pages memorized. Okay, yeah, let's get another drink.
Yeah.
So that's I'm 18, So did part-time acting for like 2 years, and then after that I did a full-time acting course for a year and was just feeling really, really good, and auditioned for a show called Conspiracy 365, and just kept on auditioning 3 or 4 times, and eventually I found out that I had got the role of the second lead in the show, and I was 19 years old, and I was just like, wow. Because I remember, like, my dad has always been very supportive of me, and my mum too, but my dad was a little worried. He's like, you know, come on, are you going to be able to monetize this? But I do believe when you're like 18, 19, you should just be trying things, because what are the stakes really?
Sure.
Like, as long as you're not doing something detrimental to society or something like that.
Yeah, man.
As you get older, you get more commitments in life, kind of whether you like it or not. But come on, like, I was 19, and then I somehow was able to pay off the big silly risk that I had been taking by getting on this show. And then straight after Conspiracy, I kind of I did another little show in between there, and then I was on Neighbours.
Cool. Did you do a bunch of auditions before Conspiracy for like shows, like TV and like?
Yeah, I did, and I got close a few times, and I did a couple of independent things, just trying to do whatever I could, and just like made movies with friends, like it's just absolute like home movies.
Yeah.
But to be honest, some of my good friends who have gone on to do major US TV shows, and I'm not going to name names, but have shown me that the shitty home film movies that even they did, like everyone started on a home movie.
Yeah, of course.
You know?
Yeah.
And everyone, I think, has the right to start on a home movie.
Yeah.
You know? That's just where you start. Even everyone, even Spielberg.
So Conspiracy was your first paid acting gig. You're a professional actor?
Conspiracy was my first paid acting gig.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It was so much fun. I remember, like, I was like, holy shit, like, I've got a role. Like, I am going to be the best fucking character that these people have ever seen. This is going to be, they're not going to know. I'm going to be the best performance in the history of all performances. And I go in on day one, and I know my lines inside and out. Normally what you do is, like, especially when you're on Neighbours, you've got to shoot the next day, and you shoot 4, 5, 6 days out of the week. Actually, Neighbours is ending, can you believe?
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that another time. It's a great experience in my life, Neighbours was. But you're preparing overnight for the next day. But what I had done with Conspiracy is, because it was the first day, so I'd spent like 2 weeks learning the lines that I was going to do in like one morning of day one.
Right.
And I knew these lines inside and out. Get in there, rehearse the scene. This is my very first take as a like professional actor.
Yeah.
You know, rolling and action. Boom. Lines gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, it's straight. Yeah, those bright lights, hey?
Lines gone. And they had organised, like, I was meant to walk in and kind of have a little bit of an argument. It was a 3-hander, and I was meant to have an argument with another character played by Marnie Kennedy. Really like Marnie. And I walk up and I'm like, I can't really remember my line, but I like try to have the energy, and like maybe I fudge like some kind of like half what the line is. And I can just hear I think it was maybe the focus puller behind. This is my first take as a professional actor in the middle of the take.
Yeah.
I can hear the focus puller whisper to the cameraman, he's nowhere near it. But near my mark. So I'm off my mark.
Shit.
I'm getting my lines wrong, you know. So look, the fact of the matter is, like, and so you do not want to be hearing that when you're trying to do the moment. I'm 19.
Wow.
And you're trying to do the moment of the scene. Look, I probably got saved on the edit a lot in that show. I did find form once those nerves got out of the first couple of days. I don't think anyone could tell, because, you know, you can get... We just did a few more takes until I eventually got it right, and then you can edit it correctly. So it was all good.
Yeah.
But I was nervous. Speaking of nerves, my music teacher in high school said to me about nerves. He's like, Taylor, the day that you don't get nervous anymore before a performance, whatever it is you're going to do, then just quit, because that means that you don't care about it anymore. And I totally can see what he means, you know. But I have become very, very good at handling nerves now. I don't kind of, but that's just time and repetition. I think I'm 12, 13 years now since I've been kind of doing this.
Sure.
So I don't get nervous, like overwhelmingly nervous, where you can't function, you can't breathe, you get that fight or flight response. I don't really get that anymore. I just kind of get like that nice little 20%, 30% like awareness of just being on my toes when I'm doing it. Like I feel like I've had a shot of coffee or something like that.
Yeah. Right.
But I'm like completely in control of what I'm doing. Yeah.
That's great.
That just comes with time. That will happen to anyone who applies themselves to something.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense.
When do you feel most nervous? So obviously your nerves have gotten better throughout time, but when is it? Is it right before action?
It's a great question.
When you're researching the character?
Great question. Off the top of my head, I think the time I feel most nervous is when you first get the brief sent through of a project.
Yeah.
So at that stage, you know the least about the project. There is the most words on the page that you have the least memorized. You haven't got any of them memorized. So then you're just looking at it and you're like, oh, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to do this. I'm never going to be able to pull this off. You just have to let that anxiety sort of go away, sleep on it a little bit, give it some time, and try to absorb the material as best you can. And then the more that material kind of is memorized and you get it into your body, then the nerves just kind of dissipate from there. I'm pretty in control right before action because I've had a conversation with the director, I've had a conversation with the writer and the producer, and they know the direction that I'm planning to take the character in, and so it's actually kind of like quite controlled at that point.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense
because you've prepared so much.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not gonna do anything. Maybe if it's like a take late in we've already banked what we've kind of all agreed we were going to go for, and then the director's like come over and tap me on the shoulder and like, yeah, like we've got that. It's really good. Like I can totally use that in the edit. But we've still got time in this setup. If you want to just try something whack, just why not? And if it doesn't work, I'll just delete it. Like it's all good because we've already got what we were aiming for.
Yeah.
Then I might be a bit nervous there, but that's when you're in the fun.
Yeah.
That's when you're in the fun.
So you're nervous
you can't
to do
lose
the fun
anything.
thing. Is that what you were saying?
Just because you haven't been able to prepare.
Like you're going somewhere that you haven't been before for everyone.
Sure.
But there's not really anything to lose. Because if it doesn't work, because you're in spare time, because it's already been widely communicated that you've banked what you were trying to achieve.
Yeah.
If it works, you can use it. If it doesn't work, it just gets left on the cutting room floor. Even if it's 3 seconds of a take, of course, if it matches up with continuity, that is a color that you weren't otherwise going to have, then it's a benefit.
Cool. That explains a lot. It makes so much sense that as soon as you're sent a script, you're like, oh my god, here's this ridiculously large task that I haven't broken down yet, so it hits you in the face.
That's what
the fear of the unknown.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
And then you break it down, you're like, okay, I get this bit, and now I get this bit, and it becomes easier. Yeah,
that's what it is for sure.
Yeah, from my having worked with you, you seem very much like a preparation-based actor. Like you like to do a lot of prep.
Yeah, I like to do a lot of prep. Obviously, you can't run the race before it's done, so there's no amount of prep that you can do. And I have become better at this since I've gotten older. When I was younger, I would try to do that. I would try to do the take in the preparation 5 days before, which is actually not... It can work, don't get me wrong. It can get you 60, 70, 80% of the way there if you're working in TV and you have to work quickly. But... as I've gotten older, I've learned to try to have more trust and more faith. Obviously do the preparation, but then you need to be able to throw it away and be able to do it on the day as well. That's when you have fun.
Do the take before, meaning like you know how you're going to say a line?
You might have ideas if it goes in a certain way.
Sure.
Feeling emotionally of things you can do. And kind of like we were talking about earlier, Noah, like 2 or 3 or 4 ideas of how you can do a moment.
Yeah.
But you can't really force a moment in there unless you're getting... because it's really like a game of tennis between your scene partner. You can't do something unnatural if it doesn't fit with whatever your scene partner is giving you. Exactly. Hopefully you're playing a good game of tennis.
Yeah.
And there's been games of tennis when I feel I've been hitting well and I haven't been receiving well back. And you're really trying to drag the average up as much as you can.
Yeah.
And, hey, there's been games of tennis when someone else has been hitting really well and I've been hitting absolutely terribly. You know, like I'm under like no misconceptions, you know, like you have good days and bad days. But when the real magic happens is when you're both hitting really well, or whatever it is, 3-hander, whatever, 4-hander. That's when something really magic happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, do some preparation, have some fully formed ideas, have some half-formed ideas, and then just throw it all away and go and do it on the day and communicate with everyone. Everyone who wants to have a conversation, communicate. That's kind of how I go, and it's working out pretty well.
Do you like to rehearse with the actor who you're doing the scene with? I
do, and I have been told that, I'm not going to name names, but I just don't see why people don't. I like to work pretty hard. I feel like you can work hard for free. You don't lose anything. Why would you not work hard? I don't understand why people would not work hard. Why? Laziness? They just don't want to do the work? Okay. But I like to work hard. And so I've been told from scene partners where I'm like, come on, can we let's rehearse this. And they're like, she said, oh, Taylor, like, I don't want to read it again. Like, yo, you're such a, I don't know, I haven't worked as hard with anyone else. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to name names.
Sure.
But like, yeah, all right, well, that tells me some things about you. So I don't often find, and maybe this is me, maybe I'm working forward in error, maybe I'm working incorrectly, but it's pretty rare for me to find someone who wants to like work as hard as me on material, and it's really refreshing when I do find that.
Gotcha. I think my argument for like...
but that being said, sorry, no, you don't want to overcook it, because you can't cook it too much, and then you're getting a burnt, charred thing. So obviously you know the point when you're going to overcook it and you stop there. But if I'm still wanting to rehearse a little bit more, it's because I believe that we're not approaching that point yet.
Sure.
So then you're actually, if you don't want to read it again and rehearse it again at that point, then you're actually getting something undercooked.
Yeah.
So you need to know where the sweet spot is. Undercooked, overcooked.
Yep.
Hopefully you're shooting something right in the middle. That's the idea anyway. That's just my opinion.
In the process of production, it's difficult because obviously you don't want to overcook it, but to find out that you're all prepared, you have to cook it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just trust that we're all on the same page. Everyone has to vocalize it. And obviously in vocalizing it, you're cooking it a little bit. So
that's why in a rehearsal, I like to do like, depends on the, like when we get ready for the full, I will do it at 60% in a rehearsal, 70%, and I will tell you what the last 30% is going to be.
Yeah. My argument against doing the takes at full force in rehearsal with the two actors who are going to be in the scene is something like, especially like depending on the scene. So I've been told against this before, but I think the argument against this still doesn't make any sense to me, or like it still doesn't feel quite right to me. There's an idea that, as this rehearsal's going on, basically what's happening is you two are rehearsing to work out like maybe the rhythm and the pacing of the scene, and like you're learning what the other person is sort of going to do, and they're learning what they're going to do as the thing's going on. You know
which is necessary and valuable, because your characters may know each other previously to that scene.
Exactly.
But so you kind of need to know like their mannerisms and what have you. But okay, there is an exception to that rule. If your characters are meeting for the first time and having a scene, then I could understand why, like in Heat, which is one of my favorite films, De Niro, when that famous scene between De Niro and Pacino.
At the dinner table.
Yes. De Niro didn't want to rehearse with Pacino. Pacino, and this is like well documented in interviews and stuff, Pacino said he would have been open to rehearsing more, but De Niro didn't want to do it. So that's when, as Pacino, I mean, what information do I have for Al Pacino? He's like one of the greatest actors who's ever lived. But I guess you just have to be like, well, all right, get ready for an intense game of tennis when we get out there then.
Yeah. I think it's just that every actor has their own sort of process, and like Pacino's very much like has talked in interviews about the prep that he does, and he also is, you know, he does theatre, and like, man, in theatre you just rehearse and rehearse until it's right. I think the argument for not making your actors do it until they have to do it for the first time, even if they do know each other, like even if there's a pre-established relationship, it's like, what I would probably tell my actors is if there's a long-held relationship between the two of them, they should get to know each other well. But I don't think that they should have the conversation that's in the movie.
Yeah, that's pretty smart.
So like, because that relationship is there, it's just like, but if you've had this conversation before, and you've had it a lot, and but the conversation being the conversation that's in the screenplay, then you sort of know, you can expect the cues, and then there's not really any reacting happening anymore.
Sure.
And the reacting sometimes that happens, like I've definitely run rehearsals with actors where I've just been like, go, just rehearse, and they give it full force and they go for it, and then you can see the surprise, you can see the reacting, and then when you go and shoot it, after that first take, it's blown. After that first take, you can't do it for the first time ever again. And so like the reacting part of the acting isn't really there anymore. So I like to, especially if the characters don't know each other very well, I love to put the two actors there knowing they've done a huge amount of prep with their own character selves, like with their own characters, and then put them in the space and see what happens. Because sometimes you can't recapture that.
And you might catch lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
Or a portion of lightning in a bottle that you can use in an edit.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
If it doesn't ruin the continuity of what you get in the surrounding takes and the coverage, right?
Sure.
Now allow me to retort.
Go for it. Yeah.
What if...
I'm not saying this way is right. I'm just saying this is a way in which I've worked. Worked. Yeah.
There is a lot of grey area in the right and wrong of this.
Yeah.
So acting, I'll speak of acting, okay? You're the writer-director, Isaac, you're the writer, so I'm not going to speak of writing, directing, but I can speak of acting. Acting is the greatest truth and the greatest lie at the same time. While you are doing this great truth of trying to deep dive to this character and what have you, whatever the given circumstances of the scene are, you're also on a mark that has been previously arranged for a camera to capture under a light, which probably wouldn't be there if you weren't doing this. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah. So it is the greatest truth and the greatest lie at the same time. Now, in that first take, when you are certainly hoping and wishing, and you would be so open to, if it happens, capturing lightning in a bottle there.
Yeah.
What if an actor, because it's their first time and they're both doing the scene for the first time, and you can never do it again for the first time after that, moves in a way that your director of photography was not expecting, and you miss some of the performance that you wish you would have wanted to get?
That's a good question.
So this is why I set up my shots in a particular way.
So dual wide. Yeah. That's what
it's interesting because I'll Noah go into this, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about shooting oneers in Flesh and Ivory.
Yeah.
Because there's that side of it as well, where we have to know the blocking.
Yes.
So.
I just try to minimize, I think, the amount of manipulation on the part of the camera as much as I can. I've seen like a lot of movies. I've seen a lot of movies for a long time.
I haven't seen a lot of movies. I've seen the same movie over and over again, like Batman.
Well, I think that's...
I still watch it every night.
Right? I honestly believe that seeing the same 50 movies over and over again is a better way to learn filmmaking than just watching 1,000 movies once. I honestly believe that. But I think I'm at a point in like my personal taste where I like the movies to not use so much trickery to attempt to make me feel a certain way. So the reason that I like to have all that sort of stuff stripped back, and the reason is because, sure, you can dolly zoom on somebody and communicate an emotion through that camera movement. I'm not saying that's a good or a bad thing. It's appropriate for some movies, and I think it's inappropriate for other movies, depending on how you want to present the movie. And that's on the writer and that's on the director. So if an actor is doing something and they are going to try something, which they should be doing, I think the main thing that should be the independent variable that's going to change the most on set is acting. I think like acting pretty much is like one of the most, if not the most important thing about filmmaking to some extent is like the acting. It's seriously important. There's the script, and the script's fucking super important too, and how you present the movie is important, but the acting is serious business.
Can I just say humbly?
Yeah.
I'm not... I mean, of course you want the best performances that you can have.
Yeah.
Right? And casting achieves this if you cast correctly rather than not so well.
Sure.
You're going to have a higher probability of getting what you want. Then having also an actor who is reasonable and not extremely egotistical, as we've, had some experiences like... Yeah, and then you're bumping into problems because you're trying to give... feedback, appraisal of a take, and then so I have no ego. Like if my take is like a painting on the wall, and then so let's say the painting's like green and red.
Sure.
If the director comes over to me and says, so when we shoot the full Isaac, when I shoot something with you, hopefully one day, and you say that red, change that red to blue, I'll just be like, okay,
yeah,
because the take is not me.
Yeah,
like. It is me, but it is not me. Like, it is... I am disconnected from it. The character is not actually me.
Yeah.
It is just me doing a character.
Sure.
So I have no ego to change the color of it. Whereas some people, they're like, no, this is the way I'm doing it. And if you don't like it, then... And then you're running into problems.
Yeah.
Because you're wasting time in the day.
It's not
Tensions
not fun working with
rising.
Like that. Yeah.
Emotions are running hot. So... But humbly, I'm on the other side of what you're saying here. No, I think that acting is an extremely important factor, but is not the leading important factor. I don't think.
Okay, I'll say this. I think that movies are a lot more like music than any other medium because they involve pacing. So I'll put it this way. If you read a book, you can sort of stop and put it down and pick it back up. You'll lose some of the emotional...
resonance.
Yeah, and the tension that's being built. But if you pause a song halfway through and it's a really fucking good song, you're like, fuck you, start the song again. You know what I mean? Like play, like press play. And I think great movies should play in the same way. It's like if you pause it, you lose something. So like
when I paused The Irishman.
It's tragic.
And I have watched The Irishman like 3 or 4 times now, by the way. Like it's been great on repeat viewing. Yeah.
And I think the reason that pacing is so important in movies and flow is so important in movies is that there have to be variables. There's a few variables that have to work completely well for you to believe it. And if one's off, it's wrong. So you can write an extraordinary screenplay, frame up the best shot ever, have the greatest performance ever, your sound is on point, like all those 4 elements. But if one of them falls, the whole thing is ruined. There's no like, it's not a thing where it's like, oh, acting is more important than script and sound design's more important than the shot. There's a few that I feel like, I do feel like sound design is more important than the shot, to be honest. But I feel like acting and script and direction, basically, those things, direction is sort of less important. But the writing and acting, if those 2 things aren't both operating at the highest level that they need to be operating to get the story across, if one falls, the whole thing's fucked. So I think all the other elements of film have to work in service of writing and acting. That's my opinion.
So do you have frustration, anxiety, because acting is the very last hurdle after all that other preparation is done? So it's just such a shame.
Production.
Yeah.
Most of the
it's
other
just a
stuff,
shame if it falls down there.
Most of the other stuff is preparable. So you can prepare a script well, if you know what you're doing. You can prepare for the sound recording to be good. You can frame up a really beautiful shot. You can do all of that. But if that performance is not where it needs to be, it's like you actually can't prepare for it not to really be there. You can do rehearsals, you can watch your actors, all that sort of stuff. But it's the one thing that I feel like I try to line everything up so that it's organized, and then the performance is the thing that is like the one thing that I'm watching most intently because it has the most change. If that makes sense.
So that's why I try to do a lot of preparation, and I'm happy to do it in full communication. Unless I'm using, and this is something we learned in acting school as well, sometimes you'd go up and you do a scene. Isaac, by the way, I want to hear what you were going to say about Flesh and Ivory real quick. They'd say, what you do the scene, they'd be like, what's your motivation for the scene? If you wanted to share it to the class, you could. But other times, if you say, there was also an option to say, I have a motivation, but I don't feel comfortable sharing it. I just want to keep it to myself. Like, maybe it's something really dark that's happened to you.
Yeah, I don't think actors should have to share their, like, personal thoughts about a role or anything like
No,
that.
so, but what I'm saying is I'm happy to, in full communication, show you and
there you go.
telegraph to you, not telegraph to the world before we've done what we're going to do, because we want them, what we want telegraphed to them is the polished, finished film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to telegraph to the people in the inner circle of the production what I'm probably going to do.
Yeah.
So hopefully that can relieve some tension for you, as you said that acting is not as preparable as some of the other factors.
I adore actors who are openly communicative about what they are going to try to do, because sometimes, you know, you have faith in actors because you see them rehearse and you've seen their previous work, and like, you know that they're going to present you with something that, you know, is going to be believable most of the time. It's always a risk, but everything's a risk. But like, it's just like that sort of thing. But if I can openly have a conversation with you about like, so a lot of actors might want to have a conversation when I write scripts that are a little bit strange about like, well, what does this mean, like in a metaphorical sense? And I think those conversations are sort of in a completely different category and not that important to the conversation of like, because when you have a conversation with an actor, it's about, so what is this person like feeling in this scene, and why are they behaving this way? And
that's pretty practical.
Yeah, and then an actor will say like, well, I think they're behaving like this, and that might differ from your opinion, but their opinion might be better, so you better fucking listen to them. Because actors will always bring, if they're good actors, a lot of the times they will bring ideas that you could never have thought. You can be as prepared as you like, but you can't deprive yourself of like the wonderful accidents of filmmaking when like some actor will come in, she says a line that you never thought it would be said like that before. Somebody laughs at a thing. Somebody starts crying at a moment that you don't expect it to happen. And you're like, holy shit, like, because it can be great. It can be shit, and generally I don't like improvisation from actors because it just like derails shit. It makes other actors forget their lines.
Yeah.
It's, you know, but sometimes like there's that like little 2% of the time, and they do something in a certain way, and it's like, I cannot believe I never thought of fucking doing that, and that makes this movie so much better they did that.
It's actually like takes half of the energy of the improvisation can be taken away for the actor just by doing your preparation.
Yeah.
So like, I'll know in my prep that obviously it's kind of like the scene itself is the cake batter, is like the cake. Some of the improv can be like the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
And also what can go in the icing on the cake is a couple of like alternative ideas of how to do like a weird take, if like we spoke about, if you've already banked what you were trying to get.
Yeah.
So that's what I'll do. Like, I'll prep a scene. I'll be like, look, I can see within reason that this is probably the way that we all want the scene to go, and we're going to capture it, and it's going to be great. Then I've got a little bit of weird shit that I can pull out of the bag if we want to start trying things.
Yeah.
So I might have a few lines of improv that are already, that I might overratedly make look like improv in the moment, but that I actually have thought of 2 weeks ago.
Sure.
But it appears as improv for you guys, and you guys are happy to see it because you can use it or just cut it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's good too, because it appears to your co-star as well for the first time.
Yes, so it's not quite improv. And then there's the improv, where you really do in the moment find something.
Yeah.
So that can happen. Then there's like that halfway between the improv, which is a few extra lines that you may have thought of in your prep that you just pull out on the day.
I think I prefer that actors do that after what I think I want has been banked.
Well, that's right. Yeah.
So like, if we've done 7 takes, and it's like, awesome, I think I have enough there to cut the scene together the way I want it cut together. We have a bit of time, let's play. And then the improv comes out, and it's like, I never thought of it that way. Awesome. You know?
Yeah.
I've had great success like with improv. Like, I've had casting, like when I'm doing an audition, I've had casting directors be like, oh my God. Because I think they enjoy that you've really thought about it.
Yeah. It shows confidence as well.
You think?
I think so, because if you're doing exactly what they've asked you to do,
you're staying on the rails.
Yeah. But this is also, hey, I have ideas of
and take this further.
Yeah, and now you have the risk. You can obviously mess up someone's script, by reading it back to them, by giving a performance that's not what they wanted.
See, that's the
But
flip
if you're
side.
saying something off the script, you can really fail.
You just don't want to be that arrogant actor who comes into the room who's like, no, I know it better than you.
Of course not. Of course not.
You don't want to be that guy. But
you really got to read the room.
Yeah, you really got to.
And you got to be delicate and like almost refined, and you have to read the room and know if it's working, and if it's not working, to pick up really quick and not go down that avenue.
In all fairness, there's a shitload of fucking arrogant actors and arrogant writers who just think that, you know, everything that comes out of their mouth and everything they've written is just perfect, and there's nothing that you could possibly do that could. So anything that's different, that might even be better than what they've said, they just won't acknowledge that it's better. They just refuse because they're just like. So you have to. Yeah, it is about reading the room a lot of the time. And you shouldn't want to work with those directors and writers anyway, but, you know.
Yes, that's the other thing.
As an actor, you're in the worst possible problem a lot of the time, a lot of actors, which is just like, you have to do things in service of the director, even if the director's an idiot.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And I've had all sorts.
Yeah.
You know, I've had that, and I've also had doing things in service of the director. That's almost like in autonomy, because I fully trust the director's vision.
Sure.
And it's turned out really good.
Yeah.
You know, and then everything in between.
Yeah.
The flip side of the coin, though, of doing preparation and... So remember I said, like, I'll have the scene 80-90% reasonably where we've all agreed that we're going to take it, so that we're not having anything whack happening on the day that we're like, hang on a minute, we didn't agree, what the fuck is this? Like, that's not going to happen, right? Because I don't care what I know everyone says, like, oh, acting's got to be this and it's got to be that, and they put all this esoterical stuff around it, but it's also got to be practical, tangible, logical. Like, we need to achieve what we've all agreed we need to achieve in this space of time. So a director who is... So I've had this before when I went for an audition in LA. It was actually for a video game. I didn't get it. After you hear the story, you'll understand why. And I went in, and so you get a few pages, and you're like, okay, yeah, great. So you do the prep. You're like, this is probably how this is going to go. Not only this is probably how this is going to go, because then you're just going to do it like the other 100 guys that do it. So you put your own spin on it. It's you, and you know, okay, this is like probably what it's going to be, right? So as I go in, this had a lot of movement in it. And I go into the director, and I'm standing in front of this big green screen, and I say to the director, so he's like, you ready to go? And I'm like, yeah, just before. I think that actually the director was in there with casting, was taking a look at everything, right? So there you go. This guy probably did have like a micromanaging tendency. And I say to him, how good is this, by the way? I don't need to name names. And he goes, are you ready, Taylor? And I go, yeah, just listen, just right before I do this, on this line, like, do you think I should spin around or maybe come around this way, or what do you think? And he's like, he's like this, he's like, I would probably think, don't decide how you're going to do it before you do it. And I'm like, bro, come on. So this is all
we
about
can't
you.
even talk now before it takes?
This is all about you. Like, where is your reasonability? Like, I have not decided how I'm going to do these 15 lines before I've done them.
Sure.
These 15 lines are 1 sentence, 2 sentences, 3 sentences a pop. I'm not deciding how I'm going to do each and every little inflection right before I've done it, bro. Come on. You've put a lot of movement in this scene. If you didn't want me to say that and you'd have to be a prick about it, then just give me a two-hander where you just stand there and there's just chunks of dialogue and I'll look at you and you can look at me and we'll just read it. Why did you give me with all this big print shit where I've got to run around acting like I've been shot in the gut, you know what I mean? Like going, oh my God. Like, and I was just like, dude, like, are you serious? So I think at that point, that's more about him needing to feel some kind of to patronize, to make himself feel good. He just completely made a judgment on me before he'd even seen anything. And it's like, I like the reasonability of being able to discuss it just a little bit before you do it. And I just didn't have that then. There's also been other times, you know, I think particularly working in Australia is great. Australian casting directors, you can go in there and you can be like, hey, so I was thinking kind of like this, what do you think, da-da-da, and they're like, yeah, that's terrific, when you do that, spin, that'll be really good. And it's just kind of a little bit more personable in Australia, and I've always found that. I don't care what anyone says, I don't care who it pisses off, but it's just the truth. And so I've always enjoyed auditioning in Australia. I've had good experiences in America too, and bad and in the middle, but in Australia it's generally always pretty damn good.
I can't even imagine. I think it's just because these people, I don't know what it is.
Why would you do that? Tell me, as a director, why would you?
I don't understand.
Why don't you want your actor to feel comfortable?
Okay, here's my position. Like, okay, so I don't really like auditions. I think there's some sort of like necessary evil, but I personally hate how I feel like every time I bring an actor into a room with a bunch of people they don't know, that there's this like weird sort of objectifying dance monkey bullshit. Auditions always feel so impersonable and cold, and there's some sort of like creepy nature to it, just instinctively to me. It's like, okay, come out here and perform for me, and there's a 99% chance you won't get it, and then leave. And then if an actor is asking something of you, it's like, well, shit, just be nice.
See,
how hard is it?
I know, because I certainly have intent to direct one day. Got a bunch of things I've got to get through first before we got all these projects that we've got to siphon through first. When we get them through and we get them where they all need to be, then I'm going to write something again, and I'd love to direct. So I know when an actor has that conversation with me, because I know what it's like being the actor.
Yeah.
So, and if you don't know as a director what it's like being the actor, that's fine, but you should try to get as much of an understanding of it as you can. Because as an actor, I also try to get an understanding of what now, when I was younger, like when I was 19, I was just very immature, but now I try to understand what everyone on the set is probably going to be doing and don't tread on any toes. And understand what the director is going to need to achieve that day, that hour, that minute, that moment. Understand their job, and just from having a better understanding, is going to be better. And I know when I direct and an actor comes up to me and asks me a question, I'm going to be so much more facilitating than to give them a cold response, because that's just not going to build confidence.
It's completely
so you're actually shooting yourself in the foot.
It's totally unproductive. Even if they're coming in for an audition and you're not going to work with them, it's like, your actor is trying to work with you. Why the fuck would you be so stupid as to not take that opportunity? And then furthermore, when you're on set working with an actor, and let's say, the scene is moving, but you see the first take and you're like, okay, we have a lot of work to do. You don't say that out loud. What you do is one of the things you can do if you're a clever enough director, you can try and do this. It's difficult to do. I don't always do it successfully, but you can arrange your words in such a way where you can sort of try and make your actor believe that it was their idea to do it a certain way.
Yeah, that's smart.
That's the best thing probably to do. But you're not going to get anywhere by telling your actor, like, dude, it's not there. Here's where you need to be. Because your actor, people don't think that actors are smart, but if you've hired good actors, they're fucking smart. And a lot of them are smarter than these bloody directors out here.
Thanks, bro.
Well, it's true. But I don't know. I think directing is one of those, like, jobs that's so overvalued, personally. We can get into that later. But there's this thing, it's like, you can't just tell your actor, it's like, no, I need you to cry here. And the actor's like, well, you fucking try it, mate. Like, what do you know? Like, because of course they're thinking that, because they have every right to be thinking that. It's like, cry, do it, yell, like, be this angry, like, be this intense. It's like, you're not getting anywhere with that shit. It's like, why are you coming from a place of just, like, bossing people around? Like,
if the scene's confrontational and you boss around on them, could you maybe perk them up a little bit?
You can. It's sort of a shitty thing to do, but you can get a performance out. I mean, look.
Look at history.
Yeah. We got, there's, I'm not going to go into examples of this. I think that's probably unproductive, but, like,
there's been some great films where that is the method.
Sure.
It was obviously unpleasant.
Sure.
Was that David O. Russell? I heard David O. Russell had some arguments.
I actually don't know about David O. Russell. I know about a couple of other.
I'll use an example that's so old that nobody will care. There's this fantastic movie called Limelight, directed by Charlie Chaplin, and the lead actor, there's sort of a lead actor and lead actress. He's also the lead actor in the film. He's directed and wrote it, and she's the lead actress. She was like 19 when the film was shot. He had to trick her, or he didn't have to trick her. It's just there was this scene that was happening, and that there was going to be shooting next, and he just didn't have the faith in her that she was going to be able to pull the performance out. And so he made her upset before going into the take to be like, not in a cruel way, but just in a way that's just like, whatever. He made her basically upset and she had to cry in the following scene. So as soon as she started crying in real life, because she just had all this pressure basically, he brought her onto set, called action, and the scene ran, and she understood after that take the reason why he had done that. It's like to get her into that state. It's a shitty thing to do to a person. I'm not sure I could.
I don't know if I could.
I don't think I could do it. But I understand where he's coming from, and he's also Chaplin, and he put actors through way worse shit. Like look at the fucking City Lights behind the scenes if you give a shit. But that was rough. But like,
I wish someone would do that to me. I wouldn't have to do any preparation. I could just turn up. You could just berate me. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have to do any work.
Yeah.
I would. The interesting thing about that is let's just say Chaplin's done this.
Yeah.
The scene's over.
Yeah.
She knows that this is why he did this.
Yeah.
What about in the future?
Exactly.
Charlie gets angry again.
Yeah.
She's not an idiot.
Sort of a one-trick pony.
What are you doing?
Yeah. You can only use it once, I suppose.
It's kind of like the football coach. Like, you can't go in at halftime every game and absolutely obliterate your boys, because eventually they're going to become desensitized to it. You can do it maybe once or twice a season.
Yeah.
And you will get a rise. But you can't be doing that shit every week. It's like The Boy Who Cried Wolf. Yes. You know, eventually it's going to lose its potency.
If that's your game plan to do that shit, you have to play it like Kubrick and Shelley Duvall, right?
You just have to be.
So the whole point of The Shining in her character is that she like is totally isolated and like neglected, and like there's like 3 people in that movie really at a certain point. So Kubrick sort of did what he could on that set, I think, to sort of isolate her in a way.
It's pretty rough.
And you can see some behind the scenes footage where Kubrick seems relatively unsympathetic to what Shelley Duvall is going through.
That's a lovely way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
a very gentle
did it
way.
benefit her performance? You can't say for sure, but I think Kubrick was probably seeing results from him doing it, which is why he continued to do it. You know, Kubrick did what he did. It's not something I personally would have done. At least I don't think. We'll see. Hey, if I end up torturing actors in 50 years, dig this.
I'm looking forward to the Fool. I'm looking forward to the Fool.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Jeez.
But I don't know, man. I don't think you really get anywhere successful from not being compassionate.
I think you just have to be nice. I don't know why anyone would not be. When you are compassionate, is this mower going to affect us?
Oh yeah,
it could, but there's nothing we can do about it.
I want it. Should we pull up?
Okay.
Should we just pull up?
So we're in the middle of an acting conversation. We'll upload another conversation about more acting in the future. But you know, there's a bit of a lawnmower going on, and we've got other commitments, so we might just call it a day here. And this is sort of a sudden ending, guys. Sorry about this.
I had just done all that preparation, you know, as I was talking about that I did, and said all those words in that exact order, and I was just about to get onto the really. I was gonna go interdimensional.
So tune in for the next episode when
I'll have to actually pull that
enter the 4th dimensional black hole from Interstellar.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk about directing actors within which there's things like...
We got a police car in here now as well. Sorry, God. Isaac.
They're coming for us.
Yeah.
And Isaac's going to talk about directing oneers in Flesh and Ivory.
Yeah, well, and especially the difference is you can't have much improvisation because the camera blocking's so strict. So we'll go about that a little later this afternoon. The mower's going away.
Oh, it's going away.
And
it's coming back.
Bastard.
All right. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, we can wrap it up there, guys.
Okay. You guys can literally just click episode 2 and you're of acting and whatever.
Or whatever episode this is.
Yeah. Or whatever episode this is.
Yeah.
Great.
Who knows?
Okay, Isaac, please send us out with a bit of beautiful music.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. How good's that?
That was bloody good.
That was great. Okay, bye guys.